The following is my conversation with Nicolò Ildos, a seasoned industry veteran who has worked for some of cycling's biggest brands, including FIZIK, Campagnolo, and Pirelli. In the episode, we dive into the intricate world of sports marketing in professional cycling. From his early days as an amateur racer and product tester to becoming a global sports marketing manager, Nicolò shares his insights on what makes successful sponsorships work, the complexities of World Tour team partnerships, and the evolving dynamics of cycling sponsorships. He discusses everything from the multi-million euro costs of the World Tour bike sponsorships to the critical importance of activation strategies, offering a rare behind-the-scenes look at how brands leverage their investments in professional cycling. With the landscape becoming increasingly professional and expensive, Nicolò emphasizes the importance of authenticity, long-term planning, and creative differentiation in sports marketing strategies. This is the Business of Cycling podcast. Nicolò Ildos, fellow cycling business professional, welcome.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.
It's nice to see you. I reached out. We've known each other for a few years. Remember how we first met? Maybe I reached out, probably trying to get some work or something. But yeah, we started talking and we're kind of similar in age, been in the business for a while, both doing some freelance work. And yeah, I think I've always really enjoyed speaking with you. And the last time we talked, I was kind of, because since you do sports marketing and you're kind of specialized, and we'll be able to talk more about that, I was really keen on hearing more about the work that you do and that you do for brands and teams and everything like that. And yeah, so I'm really happy to have you on today. Where does this podcast find you?
So I'm actually in Padua, where I live. So pretty much when I'm not on the road, I work mostly from home. So I got a studio, so I'm sitting on my desk in Padua. It's still a sunny day, so getting chill because it's close to winter time. But yeah, that's where I am now.
Okay. And so I guess maybe just to start, you can tell us a little bit about, where you're from, where you grew up, where you studied.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in the same city where I am, in Padua. I did my classic university career studying communication and marketing. And yeah, on the last 2 years, it's 5 years degree. I started with the dream to become a journalist, and I realized that maybe it was not anymore a good career
Oh,
with
really?
my vision, because it was like me, a journalist, was a little bit of an ethic job, really, to always look for the truth, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to understand how nowadays media are very linked to advertising, or anyway, is a business, it's not just a job. And then I switched my focus on the sport communication side. In the last 2 years, I was more focused on that. At the main time, I was racing my bike until the amateur level in Italy. So racing, quite a lot with decent result, but not as good to be able to turn pro. And so I try to combine the study and the passion working on the marketing field, on the bike industry.
So you studied in Padua as well?
Yes. Padua was one of actually the first university in Italy to open that course back in the days. So it was still a very hard task to get in because they allow a limited number of students. So it was a very big achievement to enter that course, and it was even
what was
easier
the
to.
what was
Yeah.
the study that you were doing exactly? Journalism, you said?
So in Italian, it's called Scienze della Comunicazione.
Okay, so marketing.
And then you have three different options: politics, journalism, and marketing.
And marketing.
So I started with the journalist course, and then over the year I switched, taking more exam on the marketing side.
Okay. And you said that it was a relatively new discipline at the university at that time, and there was a limited number of seats, and you were, worked really hard to get in.
Yeah, exactly. It was 200 students for years out of more than 1,000 applicants. And yeah, I think I was on the top 10, so I took that as a sign that maybe it was a
Sure.
career to
Yeah,
pursue.
the right place to be.
And I really enjoyed because okay, it fit with things I liked, but they allow even you to get your hand on things like with the lab. We were opening like a blog spot back in the days. I was banned by Google Ads, so it was very fun in a way, but
You
even
were banned by Google Ads?
yes,
What did
I
you
was
do to get banned by? You must have been
I
an early
yeah,
Google Ads
that
user.
was a funny story, but even yeah, something that can tell I was very open-minded and looking for new things. So I opened up as a side project for the university a blog about cycling with my local club,
Okay.
and I was starting to research, and it was this advertising things you can get money. So, okay, I'm a student, I need few bucks, so I started to place Google AdSense on the blogspot.
Oh, sure. So
But
you would
since,
get paid for the
yeah,
traffic.
so I opened up my account. I got the first thing was pound or dollars, and it was like, wow, to validate the bank account. Say, fucking hell, that's working. I can get rich in 2 weeks and buy a Ferrari and all the.
Yeah, you were definitely in college. That's for sure.
So, uh, and after a few weeks, so the first payment, real payment, was after you reach 100, I think was pounds more than dollars because I think it was anyway. So after I reached 100, I was fine. Okay, good. They send over the payment, and few weeks after, they block my account because since it was very local, the click were coming only from the same people. So
Okay.
from the same IP, so they thought I was like myself or friend
Right. You were
trying to scam. Yeah,
gaming it. Yep.
yeah, I was in good faith because it was really the traffic was for the same group of people, but they thought I was on the bad side. I was
Right.
not even thinking about making money by clicking myself, but I got the point, so it was banned, and I cannot get that account restored forever. And that's linked to my main email, so I will never be able to add any AdSense for the rest of my life. But that was part of I think the good side of studying communication
Right.
that way. So to have more than half of your time studying and learning, but even have a, a decent amount of time to try things and not only read the books. So we were doing event. I was clearly focused on the bike side with the blog and other stuff. So and meanwhile, I was still testing product for FIZIK. I was among the test rider.
So
I was even
you rode amateur racing. You did some amateur racing
yes,
after college.
yes,
Okay.
until 24.
Until
Yeah,
you were
I
24.
stopped. Yeah, I stopped after when I was 18. I was keep riding my bike, and then I found I was still good enough to train with the friend that were still racing. So I came back racing as an amateur, which was a pretty important things for Italy. So it was around 30,000 kilometers per year, and quite a few decent number of race for a year. And yeah, and meanwhile I was testing product for FIZIK and for other local companies.
Okay. And so you approached physique, and it looks like you were there for quite a while. That's sort of where you started your career in cycling, was at physique. And it must
Yeah.
have been kind of near when physique first came onto the scene.
Uh, Not exactly when they came, but when they became to be a big things.
Okay.
Because I joined FIZIK on 2010, while the brand was born on 96. So they
Oh,
were
okay.
already big, but it was the moment where they get very popular saddle-wise with a lot of new product and marketing push.
Sure.
Plus, they were launching the shoes, which now is the key category for the brand. And I was actually among the early beta tester. So the first sample was under my feet because it was sample size, just for that reason. And I was riding quite a lot of kilometer. And so 2010, and then for quite a few years So I was in contact with them because I was racing, and I was living close by, so it was easy to drop prototypes and go to the company for feedback. And then they were looking for a marketing intern. They say, yeah, why not? it was needed to end up my graduation. I have to do 6 months of internship. So we combined things, and yeah, that where all started.
And so you're able to kind of, it looks like, I mean, you have literally been in the cycling business your whole career, right?
Yeah.
And so you started out, it looks like you were there for, you know, around 8 years at FIZIK. You had some different types of roles, mostly in marketing. And then you went ahead and you moved over, or I guess before we kind of get into your journey here, I mean, it looks like you saw quite a lot. You were at a certain point, you were in charge of global marketing, a global sport marketing manager. And I guess in that role, in all those roles at FIZIK, do you have something specific that you kind of, I mean, it sounds like you were on a pretty strong, at a strong brand that was growing in a time when the brand was growing. So that, I mean, that's nice. But were you at that time also very close to the sports marketing side of things?
Yes, yes. When I started as an intern, they gave me pretty much two tasks. One, to work on the website, and from just typing translation to updating news, etc. Side task was to take care of the return of investment on this of the existing sponsorship. They
Okay.
were
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do, is it?
No, no, but I got freedom to play, and luckily the competitor were kind of old school, so we had some fun. We were opening just the early social media account, getting in touch with photographer to get kind of live, because we were all yeah, it feels old, but it was before iPhone,
Yeah,
and to send a pic, you had to look for a connection. It was old days, but yeah, trying to combine smart technology with new media, well, that was the easy task for work on the return of investment. And then since that, I was just taking more and more control of the sponsoring side, first dealing
sure.
with the athletes, then dealing with product, and at the end, dealing from the budget to the contract side
And
of things.
you felt like, did you, because I know that's been a common thread throughout your career where you were always kind of in the sponsoring and sports marketing side of things. Was that something you did on purpose, just to say, look, I want to get really good at this one thing? Or was it something that it just happened to be that way? Because we had talked about this the other day, how in this business, you know, you do have to specialize, right? You have to, if you
Yeah.
want to emerge and you want to be valuable, you have to be very specialized. I mean, was that something that you did by design, or was it sort of something that you just happened to do? I guess, how did you think about that? How have you thought about that throughout your career?
It's half and half,
Okay.
and it's something I still questioning myself. And really, maybe I'm too much of a thinker, but sometimes it looks like a golden cage, because it's a beautiful job in a way, but on the other, it's very demanding,
Yeah, it's
because
dynamic.
it's dynamic, it's fast, it happen mostly on the weekend, and sometimes it can get even very boring, because every end of the year is the contract negotiation, and then there's the beautiful Tour de France starts always on July. So in a way, you dedicate your life to that.
Certain
Uh,
parts, certain parts of your
yeah,
life.
but then I realize I'm yeah quite good on that, because I build a good network, and people trust me, and I get things done.
Yeah.
While is a world where there's a lot of talking,
Yeah, there is.
and
And I think
and
for the younger people out there is kind of what I'm saying is, you know, for the younger people that are listening, when you do kind of emerge as something like you're saying, like, you know, you were able to really do a good job and emerge and create a kind of a name for yourself around this, it's really valuable.
yeah, and so then when I pursue my consultant career, I still love to do many things, and I try to differentiate. But among the opportunities, I think that's probably the most interesting for myself.
Sure.
I can travel, I can meet new people. I live in a world that is pretty dynamic, and still I have passion for cycling. It's not my only passion. So that's this always, I'm a Gemini, so maybe that's the reason I always question and I want too many things. But at the end, you are part of a bigger game, which is very, very challenging. And at the end, you have a sense of accomplishment that justify the effort you push more than a classic 9 to 5 job with all respect, because maybe
No,
they
it's
people find
flexible.
other things. But yeah, I think it's what I found myself probably better at it, because you got this big peak and then maybe you have a little bit of flow where you can relax. And I get bored of office life. That's something for sure. I cannot stay five. I've been for almost 50 years in companies. And yeah, if it was for 2 weeks in a row at the office, I was feeling not at ease. With all respect, even if I have great colleagues, it was fantastic, but I need to do something else. I grew up riding, traveling, and doing things.
Sure, sure. And that's a lifestyle, and thankfully, thankfully you've been able to do that. But again, it comes down to, are you doing something that is valuable, that there's demand for? And from what I can see, there absolutely is. And so I think, doing that, at least from my vantage point, was incredibly strategic. So you were at FIZIK, that's the Sella Royal group. And
Yeah,
then you went ahead and you moved over to Campagnolo, where you were
yeah,
doing press and as well as marketing. And then from that point, and I presume when you were there, you were doing a lot of sports marketing, a lot of marketing in general for that sort of brand, which is kind of a similar brand to FIZIK in the sense that, it's an Italian brand, a big presence on the world tour. And then you went ahead and you've done some kind of consulting, some projects, but with regards to sports marketing, this is kind of why I was reaching out to you in particular, was throughout all this to give people kind of an idea of what sports marketing, in your view, and what you've learned over the years is like. Tell us about sports marketing today, and tell us about where is it going, what's happening, because I see how brands they invest an insane amount of money in sports marketing, like so much money, especially in road cycling. Why?
that's a wide talk. So I start from your last question, why? And the answer is because at the very end it works. I got clearly many tools, and especially for bike brands, if you are out the world tour, will be very hard to sell premium bike.
And
Full stop.
why is it's the perception?
Is the perception and is an easy selling point and something that you don't have to invest too much to activate,
Because it kind of
because especially the bike, it pop out by
on its own.
himself from
Yeah,
TV.
on its own. It's so it's sort of a moving and automatic marketing machine that just goes all over the world and is positioned in a really good way.
Then we are talking about passion. So cyclists are passionate.
Competitive
So
competition.
they they love the sport. So they look at races and they want to buy a bike that somehow has been ridden on the Tour de France.
Okay,
Uh,
but we're
and
talking
if
about
you
road cycling. This
road
is
cycling,
road cycling. Okay.
yeah,
So if we're talking about road cycling, but that is a very specific category, correct?
yeah. But if we talk about gravel, even on, yeah, we talk for ages, not for ages, because it's still quite young, relatively young category, about the spirit of gravel. It's still there, but even the gravel is moving fast through sponsorship, probably teams, and anyway, big deals for riders.
So it's
And
sort of it's taking that sort of a direction as well.
yeah, so then again, what sport marketing is, and blah blah blah. We can open different topic. What is front end? What's the back end? And how I envision the activation side of things that I'm not too much involved now because I work mostly on the back end.
What
And
is the
I
difference between front end and back end?
pretty much I take care of contract negotiation, creating opportunity, putting deal together among teams and brand, fixing things, being sure that the product is there, people are happy, companies and brand got what they paid for.
Sure.
But then the full activation package is up on the brand and the marketing team. So
So
are
you're
we going to run Eurosport advertising, or are we investing an extra amount of X to run global push? That's something. Not being the marketing manager in the company, I am not involved anymore. I guide on that regards,
sure.
but I work mostly on the back end.
So contract. So the point of contact between the team and the brand.
Yeah.
And
Plus
you're
on the activation on the, we can say, make it simple because there's plenty of things, but being sure that the athletes show up for an event.
well. That's the
That's
thing.
on
Like
me.
that.
But
That's what I've always seen. I apologize. I'm interrupt, but I've always seen that it's like, great. We invest. Let's invest. But that's just the beginning, right? Because you have to ensure that that product is used and it's visible and it's seen and they show up and that the pictures are getting taken. So that's what you're part of. A big part of what you do is sure,
yeah,
you've got the partnership, but you've got to make sure that it's being monetized or that it's being leveraged. Is that a fair statement?
exactly.
And have you seen
And
situations where brands do dump a bunch of money into it, and we don't have to name names, and they don't leverage it, and that can be a gigantic mistake?
unfortunately, in the bike business, most of brands are not investing enough to leverage the sponsorship. I think for a few reasons. I read that Nike was investing 7 times the sponsorship cash in activation.
In activation. So there's, if they spend 100, they're going to spend 700 to have people and
Yeah,
resources that are ensuring that whatever is happening is visible.
yeah. But we are talking about a huge brand.
Of course.
While for cycling, the investment just to get a team is getting more and more relevant. So you unfortunately have to cut the budget somewhere else. And the shortcut is to cut on activation.
Right.
Because it's not signed on paper at the end of the season,
Yeah,
at the beginning of the season.
well, it's subjective. How do you measure? It's hard to measure. I mean, you
Yeah,
can measure it, but if you're not a sophisticated company, it's hard to measure because it's like, okay, we did it. CEO's happy, family's happy. If it's a family company, family's happy. We did it. Awesome. But I've always thought that. I've always been like, this is a complex beast to have to manage. And so just give me, I'm curious, what does a bike sponsorship in the Pro Tour cost?
you should talk with bike brand, but the cost
More or less.
skyrocket because of the inflation. Now we are talking, it's on media that a World Tour team now is around, a top World Tour team is around 50 to 60 million euro budget yearly,
Per
the
year.
team.
Okay.
So the bike brand has to put quite few millions
So
to be in
3
that game.
million, 5 million.
Yeah, three. But then the deal are often even related to something else, providing services, or you keep the bike at the end of the season.
Part of its product, part of its
We
equipment.
provide only frame, or we purchase even group set wheels and parts. And at that point, maybe the cash is not huge, but the value in kind is getting big. But so we are talking from 2 to 5 millions.
Okay. What, you can push back on me if I'm getting too nosy here, please. So as far as bike brands, that's the absolute top of the sponsorship food
Yeah.
chain. After the bike brands, what is the next level of sponsorship in terms of equipment or clothing or whatever?
There's no a golden rule, even if we talk about the 18 World Tour teams. It's a demand and request, clearly, and offer. There's a limited spot.
Sure.
So if we talk about group set, you have 3 players.
Right.
So you can bet to have the 2-3 teams, but the other are quite easy to get for group set.
Right. And water bottles, there's like two, three.
Yeah, a little bit more. So that's very something category specific.
Okay. So if we're talking
Uh,
about group sets, there's that. And I know that like I remember like some will kind of they'll gorilla into it. Like this is kind of off topic, but I remember like Rocket Espresso, they
yeah,
were able to get on the world tour for free because
just
they
yeah,
gave the coffee machines away, right?
that's what I mean. Clearly, your marketing rights are somehow related to what you give. So maybe Rocket, okay, let's make this example, Rocket, or let's say coffee machine maker offer 10 or 20 because they have the bus, the van, the truck and the service course, an amount of
Machines,
30
yeah.
or 50,000 value in kind machines. So they can just claim they sponsor the team and they get
Yeah.
10
That's
pictures and then they're happy.
sure.
If you want to have dedicated shooting, let's say social media mentioning or logo placement, that's even why I say there's not a golden rule. Because I can be the bike sponsor and pay 2 million to this team, or I can be the bike sponsor plus being on a relevant position on the jersey for the double of the amount, and the
Sure.
category is the same.
Right. Right. So it's all kind of made to order.
Yeah, and even the team now, in terms of equipment, are less and less money sensitive, especially the top one, because they want the best product to achieve the best performance. So let's say you are offering a faster bottle cage and a faster water bottle, they might end up purchasing it because out of 50 million euro budget, let's make it simple, 10 baht saved, it's more relevant than 100,000 euro on the pocket.
And I think Nimble, the shoe brand, was one that some of the rider that was like a younger shoe brand a couple of years back that riders were actually seeking them out because they had some specific performance. I think other
Yeah,
example.
that's a good example. So they were not paying all riders.
Right, right.
But I can tell you they got a huge respect, and so they were they received requests.
But
So
that's not an easy thing to do though. Like
no,
they were kind of an outlier. Like that you don't see that very often, I presume.
no. But that's the confirmation. For some time you look for some category, you look for money. For some category, you look for performance, and things change a lot. Unfortunately, for the bike industry, in the last 10 years, the weight that the money coming from the industry to the budget of a team are becoming less and less relevant.
Well, but the money that's available to the bike industry hasn't, it is sort of static.
Yeah.
And I always thought that it's for the level of competition that the barriers to entry into pro cycling are pretty low. Like if you think about F1, I know that's a whole nother world, but still, I mean, it's a professional level racing and you can be in professional level cycling. And I know 2 million's a lot, but to be to be on a pro
Yeah.
team, I don't know many other sports, worldwide sports, noted sports that have that level. But you're saying that because of the growth of the visibility of that the budgets are sort of because of inflation that the brands are getting squeezed out a bit.
Yeah, but let's make it. I like what you say. To get it right, it's hard. To enter is not too complicated. If you think about Factor, is a relatively young bike brand. They came out of smart people with good connection. They had a beautiful and fast bike, and they were at the World Tour, I think, year one, with the old Age Desert team, and they stay at the World Tour level ever since. And probably a good part of the Factor success, or at least uh, the relative short time they used to get to a relevant position was very short
And why do you think that happened?
because of the visibility they got. So the bike was, but they create a name faster than any other.
So
Or to make it again basic, so we are not talking rocket science. there should be a reason if Specialized keeps sponsor two teams.
Okay.
Or Canyon, you know. So we are talking about the best in class by turnover, by whatever. So I
Sure.
think they are.
The deepest pockets.
We should all look with a big respect to these two big brands, and they both have two World Tour team.
So, and then in terms of the other categories that you've seen, like, I mean, we've got helmets, we've got clothing,
Yeah.
we've got glasses. I know Oakley is really present in the peloton for glasses. We've got pedals, bar tape.
Yeah. So
What?
helmet is a key category for the visibility.
Right.
So it's pretty expensive, and there's a lot of helmet brands. So there's always someone who want to try to enter and is able to pay a higher cost. So that's why maybe there is some inflation. But on the flip things, helmet now are crucial for performance, for heat control, so cooling down over the climb, and the aero effect they have on the rider.
Okay.
Is one of the biggest game changer. A good helmet or a bad helmet, it's quite few watts. Therefore, the gap might be very big among what a top team get or what a very fast helmet pay. Clothing, it's again a very popular category. So there's been a lot of fight now. It's again on media that most of clothing companies are struggling. So there's a little bit of decrease on the price to get a World Tour team. But even for clothing is crucial, the performance and the service you can guarantee.
Sure.
Because you cannot imagine the amount of piece every rider receive times 30 or most often 30 men, 20 women, and 50 devo. So it means big team rely on a good and reliable company in terms of fast supply replacement because we have crash, plus all the winter and rain gear that is crucial to correctly perform on bad weather that are quite common. And again, not to release any secret, the Gabba story, Castelli was selling Gabba to a non-sponsored team just because it was.
That's a great example because it worked so well.
And I was there, so it's not a Castelli marketing story. They were really trading black Gabba in the parking lot. So that confirmed that for sport marketing, okay, you need to be on the right place with maybe the right pocket, but you have to rely on a solid product proposition.
Sure. Yeah. So it's
for equipment. Then if we talk about a title sponsor, you can be a phone company, a car company.
Yeah, that
it's
doesn't
more
matter.
about money and eventually brand value, because maybe you can not link yourself with someone who's producing a chemical or whatever. But aside of that, it's mostly money related.
So I want to switch gears here and just kind of backing up. How do you see, say, okay, I've got a bike brand or a clothing brand, and I've just signed a contract with a World Tour team. What do I need to do to maximize that investment?
You need a plan that goes beyond year one. That's what you must be aware. Pretty much year one is getting started. So first thing first, be sure everybody is happy with the product and you know the right people in the team to get things done. So when you are solid, it's about spreading out the message. And this goes on tactics. So it's about your priorities. You can have a beautiful video with €1 million budget on YouTube, or being sure to have team jersey on every shop to stress the message. But the first thing is to build a solid foundation and then generate the positive word of mouth. And you can use any marketing tool that fits your goal. I've been in a company that they sponsor the team and they purchase for the first race ads because it was the year one. So the shortcut to associate the brand with the team and the presence of the World Tour for the first time was live on TV. It cost money, but it's a shortcut. Another example, back to the basic, but was super well done. The partnership was starting on January 1st, so all the product that was shipped and delivered after that date, inside the box, it was a very basic postcard with a beautiful pictures of the team using the product. So the tactics can get, you should get creative on tactics. Media and PR is crucial as well, because media loves new things. So they are at the race, so
Sure.
being with some journalists on the early race, stressing the fact that this new change and Team Z move to bike, whatever, help to spread out the message. But then is from the second and the third year that you really start to see the return.
So explain that. You're saying that you need to make sure that the partnership, so in the first year, it's sort of fragile because you guys don't know each other. The brand doesn't know the team.
But
You have
even
to,
the time frame is limited
okay.
because for most of the season, the image, okay, if we talk at archive image, they are all from the previous season.
Right. Because you don't have any imagery even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say, okay, look back to the Giro d'Italia, they are
On the other
on
team.
bike.
Yeah, absolutely. So all you really have is like maybe a spring camp imagery with the old, and so the kits are maybe different.
But there's not a real, okay, you can celebrate live a big win, but there's no heritage and no real connection.
No, you're right. I was thinking about that. Yeah, that is really, it's sort of shocking because you go and you look and you're like, okay, now I remember when Trek Segafredo became Trek Lidl, and it was really, it's kind of shocking at first because, you know, you're not seeing much, you know that Lidl's there, but you don't really see much about Lidl until, you know, another year goes by.
Yeah, and you keep calling the team Lidl, sorry, Trek
Segafredo,
for
for a while,
6 months forward.
Yep, totally. So
And
it's
make
there's
it
just
simple. If we think about today winning the World Championship, you associate that with a Colnago bike because it's the picture that went on the highlight forever. If is not the case, but if Colnago get dropped and they start to use another bike brand, you think about today winning the World Champion with a Colnago.
right.
You need to get to the Tour and take a new victory to strengthen the fact that it changed bike.
Yeah.
On the consumer mind. That's why the return is pretty much guaranteed for the reason we talked at the beginning. Everybody wanted, blah, blah, blah. So there's sure things, but the real effect has to be calculated on the long run. That's why if you ask what I should do is to have a plan that is longer than 12 months.
Yeah. 12 months isn't enough.
Being sure to start the sooner because it works already, and if you don't start, you never get any result. Plus, the company is putting pressure on the marketing department because it's the biggest investment. But the results are a little bit far on the road. Plus, it's often linked to the race results that are not. Yeah, you can foresee a positive season, but you cannot guarantee any victory.
And that makes me like, so you can do everything right and still not have success, and that's a variable that you can't control if the teams aren't winning. I mean, obviously you can align, the more money you have, you can align with the more successful teams. Absolutely. But one thing that comes to mind, and I've worked in marketing for a long time as well, and one thing that never fails to work in messaging and in communications, as you know, is sincerity. And, you know, just candid, real messaging, especially now. And sports, like competition, just by nature, is so real and so natural and just has so much going for it, as opposed to let's go do a shooting, in, Mallorca, right? It's like that's just two completely different worlds. And for a brand, like there's no comparison to how powerful the messaging can be when you've got a competitor that's using your product to follow his or her passion and win, right? I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know that that's why sports marketing is valuable, right?
Yeah. Authenticity
Yeah,
and
that was the word.
credibility.
Yeah, totally.
Plus, be sure to align the brand message with expectation.
But what are
So
danger?
talking about bikes, to make it simple, don't go public with an ads claiming you are the fastest bike on earth if it's raced by the 18 team in the World Tour rank. Unless you have something scientific to prove it, say that you competed on the hardest terrain and you achieve a fantastic success, but not claim you are the fastest if you're not winning.
Sure.
Because I think that's part of, respect your audience. So talk about the team, because every team race the same race. And often the winner get to the finish in a shorter term. So the last one suffer more. So that's this huge respect even for the last rider standing. But on the marketing side, you cannot treat not the loser, because he's still a finisher, as a winner. That's something that has to be
careful.
Yeah.
And so I guess
I just had just talking. It's a strange association, but it's a great example. And sorry if I interrupt you. This year we have seen a perfect marketing case. Talking about Van Rysel, talking about bikes. So Van Rysel is known to be the decathlon brand.
Van Rysel,
So
yeah.
the deal they had with the AG Desert team was bigger than the bike, because the decathlon became a sponsor, blah, 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 blah. But they did everything right. They work in advance building a fast bike from scratches. They pick up a good team. They invest through decathlon money to rise up the budget and the level. They won races. They had a wonderful season, even with Ben O'Connor leading the Vuelta for a while. They never became bold in the marketing proposition, but from my record, they sold out with team replica bikes.
Oh, wow.
Because they had a correct or very aggressive price tag. But in Italy, it was not possible to purchase any bike replica. And now, okay, I don't see any more Van Rysel. Maybe I'm biased because I know the brand, I know the people, so I've seen firsthand the work they do. But that's, to me, a very good example on how you have to behave both with the team and with the activation.
Right, but Decathlon has resources that nobody else has.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of to be expected. But
execution is the key for sponsoring. They executed right, because everybody has, not everybody. You can have bigger resources, the perfect strategy, but then you have to know the word to execute it. And executed year one, chapeau, to be French.
Okay, totally. Another question I had for you is what are risks that brands have to be aware of when doing sports marketing activations and investing in this?
So the big risk, and that's one big problem of cycling, is clearly doping. But it's not just doping, it's wrong or bad association with team and riders that goes too far in doing something bad.
So because you are hanging your reputation on a human being that could make mistakes, that's the risk. That's the biggest risk.
Yeah, back in the days, I had to change a catalogs very few days before Eurobike because one of the headliner was caught for EPO.
For doping.
Yeah, that I don't know. I think it was mandatory to take it out from the catalog,
Right.
but the risk was not just the catalog. But I think that time changed, and now you can be associated with a rider that maybe became a spokesperson for something special to make it neutral, and now people are very polarized aside of cycling. So they can generate some backlash, but the biggest risk to me is not doing anything. So not achieving any result. If you put in a scale and you work correctly, you pretty much know the team or the rider, because I believe in individual sponsorship. You are associating yourself with. You have a safe net contract-wise, so you can claim your right if something goes very out of control. I see a bigger risk in not doing anything on the sport.
Right.
You know, to make it very basic, an helmet company will always be afraid of crashes. And unfortunately, we got bad accident in cycling, but nobody is really blaming the helmet if someone had a head trauma. And what's worse than having someone in the hospital because he had a head trauma and use a helmet? If you trust is a different thing, is the helmet fall apart because it's raining. That's the biggest risk. You have a product failure or live
in the
worldwide.
Game, in the competition, totally.
But we have seen many cases of failure, but most of the time it's really sport related. Like I have a puncture is not the tire that fail, is the road that has some debris or something.
Sure.
If I have 21 crashes in the same day on the same rider, no, sorry, flat, that's a problem and a quality issue. So the fear of failure, you know, as I mentioned before, to approach a World Tour team or any racing category, you should sit on a solid product proposition.
Sure.
So you do your due diligence before, and the risk to me is just to look at the competitor, activating the sport, enjoying the race, selling product, and you wait at your desk thinking about what's next. Or maybe that's a more sophisticated thinking. The risk might be to overinvest for your potential on the sport marketing just for the sake of being there, and not having €1 to rebuild rebuild the website that is 25 years old, or not having €1 to travel to the Tour de France to take a pictures. So
Sure.
maybe that's the real risk, to get a little bit too focused on sponsoring the team than to the bigger marketing plan.
So what's your rule of thumb, Nicolò, that you tell brands if they're going to spend, 100 or 10,000 in activating or in a team sponsorship, how much is there sort of a back of the napkin calculation that you provide for how much activation they should be doing that you recommend?
It's too linked to the plan of the company, and now you count how much you activate. Because this activation content creation that goes on that budget is community related, because you do hospitality, so the bigger the better. But I will never suggest a number because it will never be reached.
Right.
For what we discussed before. What I recommend instead is not to look for the best deal, is to look for the best outcome. So sometimes it's better to pay 10% more, but to get out the deal an incredible amount of marketing rights, then limiting the investment, and then struggling to get a reply from the press agent of the team because you are on the bottom line of the supplier.
Right.
So being sure to get what you want, therefore clarify how much you have to pay to be in that position.
Right. And
If you want,
not just do it just for the sake of having the name, on that jersey, on that website. You do have to be very deliberate and about what you want from the partnership, it sounds like.
yeah, and not having 3, 4, 5, 7 teams just to be the most popular brand at the tour. For sure, if you have 3 teams, you have 3 times the opportunity to win. You have 3 times visibility on TV, blah, blah, blah. But be sure to link to a team that works well with your marketing plan. Because again, there's one winner, there's 20, 22 teams racing, and some teams are very good, even from the marketing standpoint, even without achieving fantastic result. Just because they became good content creator, they tell nice backstage story, or they have a good bunch of guys, they have fun on the road, and they became. I hate to talk about influencer, but an athlete by nature is an influencer.
Yeah, it's a thought leader. Yeah, definitely a promoter. One thing that always amazes me about these types of partnerships is there is like this almost like 10x or 100x or even 1000x return possibility on certain types of individuals. Like it makes me think of, Sagan when he was around. Like he just was so unique that it was like you hooked onto that wagon right there, and and the returns came. I don't know. Do you feel that way too, where like
Yeah,
there's
no,
certain situations where it can kind of turn into like just a magic in a bottle?
Yeah, I've been lucky to be with Liquigas and then Cannondale on the early days of Sagan, and it was just magic. I remember it was in Corsica, the tour start. It was 10 times easier to deal with athletes. I was old school, and again, I was among the first trying to squeeze the marketing value from the team with content. So just a very basic video from the team car of Peter wheeling 2 days before the tour start was the first video to hit under 1,000 view on it was a FIZIK at the time YouTube channel.
Wow.
It was a basic video, no push. Okay,
All
YouTube was
organic.
smaller,
Yeah,
all organic, just because it was wheeling.
sure.
So when you have the right athletes, it's clear. If we have to name 5 cyclists, probably 10 will name the same 5.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
there's
when you have the hero or yeah, then we can discuss among the other, but the first 3 to 5, they are all aligned.
yeah, winner, it's kind of a winner take all, but it's that way in everything where, there's only so much room in your mind for the space of these people and their presence. But I guess we're coming up on an hour here, Nicolò. I wanted to kind of maybe close out with what you're seeing in terms of trends in the areas, because I know you work in road, you work with Pirelli, you work with FIZIK, as well as like in road and in gravel. What are you seeing in terms of trends? It sounds like you were saying that in the road cycling world, it's getting more expensive, but it seems to kind of continuing on its the way that it always has. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I don't know. You can speak to that, but also I wanted to know what you're thinking about other types of racing, like gravel. What's going on there?
That's a more diverse topic because you have, ultra distance, UCI now, gravel race, and then the American style. But the level for competing and winning is getting closer to the World Tour. So it's not the same, but for many reasons. So like gravelers, the privateer, they start to have managers, agents.
But
So in a way,
but
they can bet.
how many races are we talking about though?
racers,
How many
uh,
races in the year?
quite a lot now, huh?
Yeah, 10,
With
20?
more because we got the lifetime Grand Prix, the gravel, they are, yeah. I want to say that every other week there is a new gravel event showing up.
Okay.
Competitive,
Right.
not managed by the local shop. It's a meet and greet with the GPX file. The UCI calendar is getting bigger. Now the Gravel World Championship is a thing. We had the Gravel European Championship managed by the UCI here in Italy a month ago. So it's becoming tougher, the competition.
Right. And the money. And the money is
The money, I still have no answer for teams. Because rider now, the top athletes as a support crew.
okay. So they're individuals.
They are individual, but they cannot rely on themselves to succeed. They need a mechanic, they need to have a fit zone support. Often is provided by some sponsor manager like myself. If I was hiding Valverde at the last World Championship, for example. You can rely on community support, on sponsor support. You don't need to have 5 employees like at the World Tour level, but it's becoming pretty challenging to compete on the gravel level, and you can earn good money.
So it's becoming more and more, it's growing,
Prof
is what you're saying. It's
It's
growing.
becoming professional
Professional. Okay.
for the elite that cares about the result.
Right.
Then the race are not like the Gran Fondo that are maniac for speed. There's still the soul of people going out for a ride on the nature, having fun, but they're getting more performance oriented. Even, we are talking about rolling resistance for gravel tire. We are not talking about grip and puncture protection only.
Right.
And you see Lachlan Morton winning Unbound with an aero helmet. So we are talking about marginal gains, which is what Team Sky and then every team is doing at the World Tour level.
But in terms
So
of World Tour, what are you seeing in terms of any changes or any trends that are emerging lately?
bigger team, bigger sponsor,
More money.
more money for the big riders, but more pressure on everybody. Now a leading team is an organization of 200 people.
Wow.
So I were not used to talk to engineers. Now to make any deal, I got to talk to 3 to 5 different people.
To make a deal for a brand,
for a product,
for a product, yeah. These engineers have to analyze and evaluate these products in a pretty extensive way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is correct,
Sure.
but it show how before it was okay, send to the DS or send to the key rider and he
They'll
say
check it
yes
out.
or no.
Yeah, they'll check it out. Yeah.
Now we
they've
got report
engineers
calls.
analyzing.
Yeah, and before that, I got to pitch the product with fact.
Right. You have to, objective information.
Then, okay, it's a small world, and I work with mostly non-brand. So they already have information, they
Reputation,
already
yeah.
presence at the World Tour level, and that helps a lot. Because if you are used by Team A, it's easier to convince Team B that the product is good if Team A is winning some races or is
Sure.
not complaining.
But
yeah,
I think
it's very complicated, and I think it's not only about athletes. At the end, we are talking about passion. So sport marketing is crucial. You need to leverage story to get content, but then the big race for brands, I think, is to win the heart and the mind of the consumer. But hate it or like it, the consumer mind are getting very diverse nowadays. There's plenty of way to go riding, there's plenty of way to dress up, there's plenty of way to pimp your bike, and the audience is global. And by nature, global racing allow you to talk with a global audience.
wow, yeah, it's powerful. I mean, it's
it's totally global. There's no language to, seeing someone raise their arms as they cross the finish line. That's universal. But one thing that I think I've noticed across everything that we've talked about is how important it is to have a good reputation in what you do, in a sense that there's a lot of trust that's built on what you do and what the brands are doing, and you cannot mess with that.
No. That probably the things I'm most proud of. I work hard to build a trust with people, even if we are maybe fighting or not closing a deal, or people always reply to a phone call or they call me back the next day. That's something that is invaluable, but it shows that you build something stronger than the brand you represent. I still got people that call me to get a contact, let's say in Campagnolo, because they remember I was there, then maybe they lost contact. Say, can you hang me with someone there? And that's part of the job.
Sure.
And the trust is built on over-promising and over-delivery. It's as simple as that.
Under-promising and over under-promising, over-delivering. Yeah. And so speaking to, we do have a lot of brands, entrepreneurs, marketing teams that listen to the show. Can you maybe leave everyone with, I don't know, just some nuggets about, what you think brands should be doing more of in the sports marketing realm? Like maybe just some ideas that you think, hey, you guys should really kind of try and focus on this, or it would be, it'd be in your best interest to kind of focus on this or that. Are there anything that comes to mind that you think you'd like to say, hey guys, this is important?
Yeah, it's something I recommend is to, as we mentioned before, be sure to do something, but be sure not to do the same things the other are doing. Like, it's almost time to go to the training camp. So we all need pictures and we all need content, and that's good to have a backup of classic team shot. But please don't do another beautiful video of riding in Spain, just with a different jersey and a different bike.
The drone shot up the mountain again.
That's okay. We need that. Took for granted. It's important to have it, but not go there with that purpose.
Right. Yeah, you do have to. You're right.
Be different, be relevant, do something even stupid. Back to the basic. You remember for a while it was at the Giro or the Tour, probably the social media manager or someone from the Giro, I think, was just throwing a soccer ball to the rider, and they were trying to, I say, juggle.
Yeah, juggle. I think that's what you say, juggle.
It's pretty simple. It's something kids does. But someone like Remco, I remember, is a football player. It was super easy, play like maybe 20 or 30, and then throwing the ball very high. Others were not even able to stand still with the cycling shoes.
No, I think that's a beautiful thing that you said, Nicolò, because cycling does tend to get a little bit homogenous and repetitive, and yeah, for in this type of a world, you do need to emerge. And it's not enough to just show up and do the shots and do the drone shot and do the same, slow-mo. You do have to kind of put some creativity into it. I appreciate that point of view. I think people will really appreciate that as well.
Yeah. Back to the basic. We are talking now about the bad times at Rafa, but Rafa, they became popular because they went back to black and white. As simple as that.
Yeah, totally.
Black and white, that's Rafa. 10 years ago, when they became something, it was black and white. It was nothing crazy.
Yeah, and
Easier.
everybody else had so much color and the designs were
Animation on the video. Was the early days of whatever 3D you can do on video. They went back slow, peaceful video, black and white. And again, it was nothing crazy, just different.
Sure. Stand out. You have to stand out in this world, especially now with so much kind of just, coming onto Instagram and Facebook and on the feeds. There's a lot of very similar things.
But I'm not worried about the algorithm. I'm worried about the brand perception. clearly, if you do something to get more like, you have to play a game, which is fair. But to be different, maybe you are not winning the algorithm, but we are winning respect.
Well, I think the algorithm at the end of the day
Helps.
the algorithm is looking for things that are genuinely interesting, right? So it's the same objective, right? To try and chase likes, you know, in a perfect world, in which I believe that these platforms are doing, is trying to find things that are genuinely interesting and new, right? So I think they're similar in that regard.
Yep.
So
Good.
thank you so much, Nicolò. It was great talking with you. I know you've been really busy. Sounds like you just bought a house.
Yes,
Congratulations.
and a new baby.
And a new
So all in. So the
Oh
second
yeah.
baby,
Yeah, you are.
40 days.
I'm sorry, man. I've already done that. That ship has already sailed. So yeah, you're gonna enjoy yourself. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
not
well,
running that much, but I have a fair excuses.
okay. Well, if people want to reach you, you know, in any way, how can they get in touch with you?
So pretty much my LinkedIn and my Instagram. I always reply to message, but it's not overcrowded. LinkedIn and Instagram both are my name and surname. It's pretty rare. My surname is Ildos, Ildos. So it's only myself. So just look on LinkedIn and I reach out.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on.
And thanks for your time. It's been a lovely chat. And I always listen to the podcast. So I'm scared now to listen to my voice.
Hey, you wanted, in Italian, they say you wanted the bike. Now you gotta pedal the bike. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you wanted the
Got some
bike. Now
training.
you gotta pedal. All right. Take care, man.
Yeah. Grazie. Ciao.
Prego, prego. Ciao, ciao. Ciao.